check.
Let's go, sis, running the boards over there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how you learned this? Like, you taught me.
Okay, sis. With the dunks on, I see you. With the chain around your ankle, I see you.
You see the energy in the room already?
Man. I'm paying attention to the details. I see what's going on.
Damn, I was going to wear my dunks too. I was going to be dunking it out over here.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, now listen. Let's start it up. Great energy, great vibes. Listen, the first thing I like to do is give thank you to the YouTube subscribers, the TikTokers, the Instagrammers, the listeners across the world. Thank you so much for allowing me to grow with you and enjoying these conversations. Now, here we go. Today, I have a great guest that I've been waiting for a minute.
Yes, sir.
We've been in communication. He goes by the name of Dr. Antwan Amadeus Thompson. He's a multi-platinum producer. He's produced for hundreds of artists, Chris Brown, J-Lo, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, you name it. He has a book. He's an author. The Story of Amadeus. Amadeus,
my brother.
Welcome, my brother. Round of applause for Amadeus first.
Man.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
I hear the crowd screaming. I hear everybody.
Yeah. What's going on, my brother? Listen.
I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to be here. Before you say anything about me, let me take the moment to celebrate you. You know what I'm saying? You, sis, and everything you guys have been building. Great, incredible platform. You know, so I'm grateful and honored to be here to have this conversation. I know it's going to be epic. I know it's going to be a blessing, inspiring, motivational, and I'm honored to be here, man. You didn't have to say yes to me. You didn't have to say yes to me, you know. So I'm here.
I'm gonna turn it back to you because when you reached out to me, you know, I was going through a very turbulent time.
Wow.
And your email, because that's how you first connected with me. We first connected via Instagram.
Yes, sir.
But your email, the way the energy just jumped out at me. I felt honored. I felt it was like a blessing for me. So, you know, and then reading all your accolades and all that stuff. But then I read, and I'm a dad. You know what I'm saying? That part right there.
Yes, sir.
You know, we are in the Dad's Group Chat podcast.
Absolutely.
We're going to have an amazing conversation today, revolving around parenting and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But listen, the honor is mine.
Man.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to interview you, my brother.
Thank you, King.
You know, and then the conversation from there took on to texting and, you know, just the vibe, man. And then we got on the phone and then we got on FaceTime. And we started rolling, man. It's like, listen, this is it.
Yes, sir.
This is why, you know, these conversations are important to
Absolutely.
me. And I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you as well.
Listen, I like to dive into a couple of things, including parenting, of course, but your upbringing in the Bronx.
Yeah, man. Talk
to me about that, because we have a lot of family in the Bronx, and we know what the energy was in the Bronx in the 90s and stuff like that in the 80s. It was great for me, just experiencing it. It was fun for me. How was it for you?
A few emotions. I mean, for me growing up in the Bronx, epic, man. You know, when you think of it being the birthplace of hip hop, right? Which I didn't even know at that age. You know now, but that energy and that vibe was always there. And my family and I were music lovers growing up. You know, you couldn't do anything until the house was clean on a Saturday. Before you would try to go outside, before you would do any family events, the house had to be spick and span. So that was a thing. Yeah. And every Saturday, my mom or dad would have the moment to play music. And everybody had what they loved. My mom was Salt and Pepper and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Right, my dad was the Bee Gees. You know what I'm saying? Stevie Wonder. My mom, Michael Jackson. And so for me, it was like KRS-One. It was like Black Sheep. It was, you know, Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? So that was the energy in the house. Around the neighborhood, though, it was a dope vibe, but it was a very tough area. It was a very tough area, surrounded by, you know, unfortunately negative things. You know, drugs, violence, gangs. You know, something was always happening outside. You know, sometimes it was good, sometimes it was not so good, right? So that was the energy, that was the vibe. Now, my parents understood that as they grew up on the same block. We, you know, 169th Washington Avenue, building 1309 to be exact. They grew up in the same neighborhood, so they know it. They know what it was, right? So when they had us, you know, myself and my siblings, they were doing their best to protect us from it as best as possible, right? Now, as a kid, you don't understand that. You don't relate to that. You know, I'm looking at my mom and father like, guys, you're not letting me be great. Like, I want to go outside. I want to play basketball. I want to play baseball. I want to play football. I want to go to the corner store. I want to go over here. And it was like always like no or an issue with us going outside unless, my pops went outside with us, right? Now, we lived on the 4th floor, so outside the window, they can see us, right? So whenever we went outside, my mom was parked at the mirror, at the window like...
with the binoculars
on. And even if I went to the store, like we got time to go to the store. Right? Like you got 5 minutes to go to the store, I'm watching you. So whenever I took longer than 5 minutes, she would start screaming my name out the window, Antwan.
Right.
And it wasn't even embarrassing anymore because everybody knew my parents and everybody knew and they just know how they were. So it was just like, your mom's just calling you, bro. And it was what it was. But again, that was from a standpoint of wanting to protect us. We went to Catholic school all our lives. We dressed up in the slacks and the shirt and the ties. Always got mocked, always got laughed and teased growing up, because everybody had the J's on and the swag and we didn't. You know what I mean? So 100%. Growing up was cool and not so cool, but I made it work.
You know what's crazy? I had a similar upbringing because my parents, they both came from Dominican Republic in the early 80s. And we landed in my uncle's living room, right? We split the living room. We had a room to ourselves. My sister wasn't here yet, right?
Gotcha.
So it was the same vibe. It was like an overprotective parenting from their end. But I had a lot of cousins. So that kind of like filled the gap for me.
Okay.
Because if I wasn't outside, I was in the building playing baseball in the hallway and breaking stuff and all that stuff. It was an amazing upbringing for me too, but I do get it when you say, outside in the neighborhood, there was a lot going on. And we was protected from a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? And, my parents pretty much, I feel like my parents, even my uncle, he probably didn't have any choice of where to land in New York when he came from Dominican Republic. But that was it.
Got you.
And I'm glad that I kind of like grew up in that environment because it creates tougher skin for when you need it later on.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about that in a moment.
Absolutely.
Because us being parents now, for me, in my experience, I feel like I'm too overprotective and I'm not letting my kids experience, I don't want to say harm. I want to say like challenges.
Got you.
You see what I'm saying? Because then how do you apply what you've been taught later when you need it?
Love this topic.
Because for me, everything that I experienced growing up, the good and the bad, because as you start growing up, you're 13, 14, now you're really like, oh, I'm going outside. I'm playing with my friends, basketball. You see things, you start hearing things, and it's always a constant battle in those inner city neighborhoods that we come from.
Got you.
But it built the tough skin that I needed.
I agree.
After that, of course, I went to the military. That built some extra tough skin for me. I didn't know that. Right?
I didn't know that.
So now I'm well equipped to handle challenges other than the norm. Meaning, right? But how do I apply that to my kids' upbringing?
Right.
That's where my challenge comes in.
I think, and I never thought about this till today in this moment where, I feel like genetics play a part. Right? Because I'm listening to your story and how you came up, right? And of course, what you want to instill in your girls and how you want to protect them and keep them from harm's way, right? But there's still a sense of you and mom inside of them.
Yeah.
So whatever your demeanor was when you was growing up, whether it's tough, whether it's strong, whether it's just enough, to make sure that ain't nobody, mess with you. And same thing with mom, it's I feel like that's inside of them, right? And I never thought about that until me hearing you say what you say, right? So it allows me to think about, my son, who's, 20 now, towering over me like crazy.
Right.
In life, you want to give your kids the best or what you feel is your best, right? And you want to change the dynamic. You don't want them to experience what you've experienced. You don't want them to grow up how you grew up. And there's no shot or shade to how we grew up because, like you said, it created who we are. It created the kings that we are today, that tough skin, that
100%.
What we've seen, what we've experienced, right? And it allows us to be the men that we are today, right? But so my son never really got to grow up in that environment, right? So to look at him as a 20-year-old man now, he has the edge, right? He has whatever he has to be able to navigate throughout the world.
Right.
And now that I think about it, that has to come from mom and dad. His mother's like, no, you don't want no smoke. Like,
Yeah.
amazing person, but you don't want no smoke. And the same thing with me. I'm a nice guy, humble, God-fearing, no problems, but
Yes.
I am from the Bronx. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And his mom is from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he has that in him. And I feel like the same with your girls. Like, they have that in them. So I don't want you to feel like, and I'm no guru or doctor when it comes to like the parenting, like, because there's no manual.
Right.
But me being able to share with you this is important because of the fact that I have a 20-year-old. You know what I mean? And I know your girls are younger, you know, than my son. So just seeing him grow into the man that he is today without having to deal with what we've dealt with,
Right.
they'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? And they see how you are and how you carry yourself. They have your, you know, your wife, you have your sister, they have your, you know, mom, mother-in-law, like to see of, I can tell when I walked in, you know, they were nice, but they got some G in them. You know what I'm saying? They were high, you know, they didn't expect me to come walking in there to use the bathroom. It was just like, we're going to give you this high, you know, but like, you good? You know, even, you know, wife, she gave me the firm, you know, handshake. Like, because at the end of the day, this is your castle.
Yes.
This is your home. This is a protected space, right? That only you and your loved ones belong in.
Yeah.
So as much as we've connected
Right.
and build rapport, we haven't.
Right.
So they have to have that certain demeanor and edge.
Like that shield.
Yeah, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So they're automatically seeing that. Your girls is automatically seeing that from their parents.
Yeah.
You know, so just know that they'll be fine, King. They'll be fine.
I never saw it that way.
Me neither until I didn't even think of it
that's
until you
amazing.
said what you said. That allowed me to think of it in this manner and like, yeah, man, my son didn't really grow up like that either, but he's good. Like he's, you know, he moves around. He has his fellas that he hang with, and I've seen him handle himself in tough situations. I've seen him get himself out of tough situations because you know the world is the world, but you don't have to be that in order to, you know, be able to take care of yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of like that inner discernment that we carry, they carry. I never saw it that way. Thank you for sharing that because this is what these conversations are about, for us to connect and talk about things and explore things and kind of like see, okay, you're going through similar things that I am going through, or you probably been through it already with your child.
Absolutely.
And you know, that was great game and advice that I'm taking as jewels, my brother.
Right.
Now, listen, I know our parents had different visions for what we've become. What was your parents' dream for you?
Man, I don't know what their real dreams were, but I knew it consisted of school. Like
100%.
I knew it consisted of, you know, finishing high school, going to college, and becoming something good or something great, right? But school was definitely involved in the situation, right? So for me, I found my calling really early.
Okay.
You know, and it was music. And I connected with that as a baby. And it's funny because it's like they had to see it too because they bought me a Smurf drum set when I was like 3 years old.
Look at that.
So you know, and it's like, and I've always wanted to ask my mom that question. So mom, I know you watch. She watches everything that I do. She watches every interview, every situation. Like, what made you? And you know, my dad passed 2 years ago. So
Sorry to hear that, my brother.
What made you and Daddy buy me a Smurf drum set? Like, what was I doing that said, let's get him a drum set? I had to be like 3 years old. I was a baby. No talking yet, no nothing. But I got pictures of me like holding the drumsticks right. Like there's no YouTube. Like no one showed me how to do that. That was a natural thing. So it was something that they saw that made that happen. So for me, it was music early. I didn't know that I was going to go down the direction of musicianship. Definitely didn't think I would become a music producer. I started rapping first and thought I was going to be like the next Mace and Puff Daddy team. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when it was production and I shared that with them, they was just like,
yeah.
They didn't even know what it meant.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it meant all the way. I just knew I had to do a beats and, you know, me being a drummer and a musician and then just kind of like tying that in with making music. And I was figuring it out too. But they was like, And they didn't agree with it. They didn't rock with it. Their hip hop and my hip hop was two different worlds. Mine was frowned upon like junk. My late father, turn that junk off, you know, compared to what they had. And it was what it was. So it was very challenging for me. But I was such a rebel because, you know, and not even knowing at that time, it was my love and passion. So there's nothing you can say, nothing no one can say to me. Mother, father, sister, brother, cat, dog.
Yeah.
nothing anyone can say to me to change that from being my passion. And I didn't know that at that age. It's just something that I always wanted to do.
Wow.
And I would figure out and find ways to do it. It was no to go outside, no to go to bowling, no to go to friends' parties, to none of that. But the moment I say, hey, can I go play drums at church? It was a yes. Can I go play drums at school? It was yes. Anything that had to do with drums and music, it was a yes.
It was always a yes.
So that was my outlet.
That's, I'll say we have some similarities there because my dad, he has a video which we're trying to still locate, right? Because it's on one of those VHSs, right?
Yeah.
I am definitely gonna I'm gonna find that video.
You gotta find that video, bro.
He has me at 3 years old, mind you. I'm a heavy Michael Jackson fan at this moment.
I know
at 3, but he has me with a guida. How do you say guida in
talking about?
In Spanish, that little
yeah.
Right. He has me with one of those, just wilding out, and I'm like, Michael Jackson. But it's like he instilled this whole artistic music thing in me too, to the point where, and I'm gonna share this again, I wanted to become a reggaeton artist. I wanted to I became, so my dad got us a computer later on in life, right? I was already like in my teens, right? He got us one of those compact computers that come with like a booklet, like with hundreds of CDs back in the day, right?
Yeah, I remember.
The huge compact computers with like 1,000 DVDs, and one of those was Fruity Loop, right? So I put the Fruity Loop. Fruity Loop is like this producer.
Yeah. It's like a DAW. We call it a DAW.
Right. So I put it into the computer, and I just started messing with it. And my cousin was with me. We was trying to mess with it. It was like, oh, it sounds and stuff like that. And then, we started messing with it. And he's like, no, it's by patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how it is. And then I started learning it, and I started making beats. I even went to record. I have a video. I'm not gonna share that here. But you know what I'm saying? It's like it became a thing.
That's dope, bro.
And then I went into the studio life, right? And I was like, yeah, this is not for me. Because it's tough. It's a whole different world when you gotta work. And I'm pretty sure you probably did this too. In the beginning, you got to work a full-time job, and then it's like you got to dive into your entire like midnight night to the morning to record, to do it right, to do it perfect. I was like, this is not for me. But
tough.
Fast forward now, my sister and I had a conversation in this very room the other day, and she pointed out, you've always been artistic in your life. Look at what you're creating.
Yeah.
This is like that. Art is coming out in a different form.
Absolutely.
For you. So, I understand you when you say,
that,
you have that inner passion, and it's just something that you always carried with you throughout your life. And I'm glad you're getting to live out your dreams, my brother.
It's a blessing, man. It wasn't the easiest thing, right? So for me to turn a passion and a love into a business.
Yes.
Because for all of the years of me 15, 16 years old, I'm not thinking of it as a business. It was just something that I love to do.
Yeah.
Kept me out of trouble, and it was dope hearing music that I would creating, something from nothing. So it was just dope. And then when you start learning that as a business and you can actually live off of this and take care of yourself and your family and provide by creating music, and I'm like, wow, it's a whole different thing. So to live your dreams is a blessing, right? And I feel like we're all meant to.
Yeah.
It's just about being able to connect with what God gave you and what God put in your heart and your life. What you do, I can't do. Right. And I think, and that's the beautiful thing about it, right? You have your gifts and your talents, which is yours.
Yeah.
That you hone in on. Sis has hers. I have mine. You're not meant to be what I am. I'm not meant to be what you are. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And once you find that and realize that and accept that and appreciate that, then you put the work in. You put the work in, and you go until whatever those dreams are that's in your heart, your mind, your soul, until that becomes your reality. I don't feel like it's meant to just be something that allows you to get through the night.
Wow. 100%.
Okay, I just had this dream to get through the night. Okay, tomorrow is Sunday. Now let me just go, let me go live life. No, hold on. What was that about? Why did I have that dream? Why did I see that? What was that? To me personally, I feel like that was a vision. That was a vision that God gave me. Now, this is what I instilled in you. This is what I poured into you, young man, right? These are the dreams that you have, and this is what can become your reality. What are you going to do about it?
God presents it to you in multiple ways, man. God is amazing to me. As you're speaking, I'm just in this day and age, I just had this conversation with someone. You know, it's sad that in this day and age, we find ourselves even rushing God for blessings. You know, when God's timing is always perfect, it's never late. You know, and you hit it in the head when you said, you know, God will present it to you, but you had the discernment, the inner discernment to kind of like say, hold on, what was that? Let me dive into that, and let me push forward on that, because that feels great. That feels like it's coming from great energy,
Right.
and it's great energy for me to give, because what I believe is we're all here for a purpose. We're all here to service others.
Absolutely.
You know, but how has your blessing blessed others, brother?
That's the key, right? And I thought about this not too long ago when I tap into why God allowed me to become Amadeus. Like, why are you successful? Why have you been able to produce for over 100 artists and you know, tour the world and do all of these different things, right? And I keep going back to the work, because yes, God has blessed me with what He's blessed me with, but the amount of work and hours that I put in to get to where I am today and still do. You know, and I know I'm like, it's like when you ask me the question, there's so many ways I can go, right? Because it's like, I've never got into this wanting to be the best.
Yeah.
Like, let's think about that for a second, right? Where, you know, we can compare that to sports, or, you know, right now there's always an argument with LeBron James and Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And sports and everything, right? I never said, yo, I want to be better than Timberland. I want to be better than Pharrell, you know, the Neptunes and Puff Daddy and the Hitmen and Dr. Dre, Swiss. Like, all of these producers inspired me to become who I am today. They all have influence in my life musically, right? Yeah. So I never said I want to be better than them. I just wanted to be the best me.
Yeah.
Like, how can Amadeus fit in the room with a Kanye and a Just Blaze and all of these guys that I consider my heroes, right? And that was something that I had to figure out. And that was about me finding who I was and my identity as a musician and as a creative being, and then just doing me. Right. And if the world can appreciate it, if you like what I'm doing, cool. But at the end of the day, I'm having the greatest time ever. Yeah. You know, so I think I have to really talk about the work and the ethics that goes into becoming this person, right? But it's so difficult, man, because it's about the mental side too, right? Where people that you're sharing your dreams with are looking at those dreams as so far-fetched and laughing at those dreams and laughing at what you're saying and mocking whatever you're saying, because maybe they didn't tap into themselves and what God gave them and was fearless enough to go after theirs. So now they want to hear your ideas and your goals and your dreams and cast their fear on you and their disbelief, because maybe it didn't happen for them. Yeah. Maybe they started and was just like, oh, let me just go to school. And it's no downplay to school. School is amazing. Degrees are amazing, but that's your life. That's the walk and the vision God gave you. 100%. Right? So when I reflect on where I am and what I've done, you know how many lonely moments I've had? Yeah. Right? Because it's cool, or it's like, how do I say it? It's
cool to see the glitz and glamour.
Yeah. Right. That, right? Or once you make it and once you become, they say, I know that guy. Yeah. I was there. But what if you've never become? It's like a post that I've shared. We follow each other on Instagram. I shared a post of a pastor that says, you know, people, when you're gifted, people are going to use you because you're gifted. You have to expect people that's going to want to use you and be around you because of how amazing you are and how gifted you are, right? But you have to have this, what you've said a few times today, you have to have the spirit of discernment to decipher who's for you and who's not, right?
100%.
And who you're willing to allow to use you, because you're going to get used anyway, because it's not like you're going to get rid of your gift. Right. It's not like you're going to, diminish what you are, turn down the light of your gift. No. So you're going to get used, but at least be able to decide who you want to allow to use you. Yes. And then he also mentioned about making sure that you take care of those that genuinely love you and genuinely care for you. Yes. Right? Because we can be over here because we feel we want something from this person, or we have something to gain that will go ahead and allow them to use me and be over here, but you have people that genuinely love you and genuinely care for you over here that don't want nothing from you.
Wow.
They just want to see you be great. They just want to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
Spiritually, mentally, physically.
Right.
Forget Amadeus. How about that Antwan? Is he good?
Forget about the accolades. How are you? That's when those type of questions come up with my inner circle, it grounds me.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, I get it. You know, we all gotta find our passion. And then once we find it, we gotta be aggressive and follow through, but also be aggressively humbled. You see what I'm saying? Because you gotta remain grounded. You know, God gave you this dream, this passion to follow through and possibly bless others, right? Because that's what it's for.
Yes, sir.
But it's true. You gotta find the right people, the right people to have around you. And, you know, in you following through in your passion, there's going to be lonely times that you're going to find yourself saying, you know, wow, is this what this is about?
Right.
But in reality, take this, for example, right? I'm in the podcasting space, right? So to me, it's more about the relationships and the conversations. But what it's really about, it's somebody's going to get a jewel from this conversation.
Absolutely.
Somebody down the line, the video could be 3 years old, 5 years old, 1 month old. Somebody's going to click, hear something that's going to change their view on something that they're going through, their path, or even their life. And it's the unknown stories that count the most, as long as the change is being made.
Right.
So we always have to look at it. Okay, yeah, the accolades are coming. Okay, yeah, the numbers. And nowadays, you know, the Instagram numbers, the instant gratification, the microwavable era, you know, but remain aggressively humble and try to change someone's life.
Because at the end of the day, it could all change. And that's something that I've always, and it has changed. It has changed. And I shared this with an artist yesterday, right? It's Bronx Week, you know, from the Bronx. So big shout out to the Bronx.
Yes.
And she was sharing. She's like, "I see you everywhere. I see you all over the place, doing all kind of different things." I said, "Yes, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You can't." I said, creativity, being an artist, a producer, whatever, and it's just life in general. You know, you're like a plate of food. What do you mean? You know, when I walked in the kitchen, I smelled the amazing fragrance, right?
Yes.
Now, when the queen lays the plate out, it's fresh, it's hot, it's steaming.
Yes.
Right? Now, I have two choices. I can sit there and eat this food while it's warm and fresh out the, you know what I mean?
100%.
Fresh on the plate. Or I can say, hold on, Jim, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Okay. All right, you know what? I'm going to make a phone call outside real quick. Let me just have this conference call. You know, it's about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
When I come back to that plate, it's not going to be the same.
100%.
The food is phenomenal, but it's no longer fresh. It's no longer steaming. Now it's cold, right?
Yes.
Now I can eat this food and I'm going to enjoy this food cold, but when it was warm, it was so much better.
Yeah.
And I compare that to life in our careers. Okay, what artist is out there? What producer? What creative? What basketball player? Baseball? You know, whatever.
Yes.
No one remains hot forever.
100%.
At a certain point, you get lukewarm, and to go out, and then you know, after becoming lukewarm, then you get ice cold, and that's life. Yeah. You got a #1 record right now. You can have 20 records on the charts right now, and then tomorrow it can all change. Why? Because there's a million other people out here that is just as dope as you, maybe better, that God also blessed and gifted to, that wants your spot.
Yes.
So it's seasons. You know what I mean? There's moments when you're on fire, right? So you can't sit back and have a moment like that. And I've learned the hard way. To have a moment like that and be on fire and you're on tour and you just moving. Yeah. What happens when you slow down? What happens when, you know, you're not on tour? What happens when nobody hasn't purchased the track? Or what happens when, you know, there's this other producer that everybody's chasing down? Or, you know, there's these other artists that's touring. Nobody wants to see you right now. Like, what do you do? Right? And that's the thing that is important for us all, to just keep it pushing and just have eggs in different baskets. I'm a musician. I'm a music producer. I'm an author. You know, I'm a motivational speaker. I go speak to the kids. I just so when we were in May, right?
Yeah.
Yo, this year musically it's been extremely slow for me. Have a residency in Dre's. They didn't call me to come play in January. That's the first time in 8 years they didn't do it. That's birthday month. It's a check that was no longer there.
Yeah.
Trey's going on tour. Everybody, Trey Songz, you know, be exact, going on tour, Millennium Tour.
Yeah.
He's not taking the band.
Wow. Things start getting lukewarm. And it's going to happen. You see what I'm saying? It's going to happen because, like you said, God will give you the vision. You start following the passion, but God is giving you multiple visions too.
Absolutely.
He's telling you when you pivot. He's telling you when to let it go and follow something else and help somebody do something else. So you are an author, guest speaker, speak to the kids. You know, you have different avenues that you could go through, but you understand. But see, the problem with all of us is we have to hit that lukewarm or cold stage to realize it and then apply it moving forward. So I'm guessing you've realized it and now you're like in different avenues. You're moving through.
Had to. And you see, you know, online, all of what I've been doing in the last few months is schools.
Yeah.
Schools.
I've seen it. Yep.
Schools, right? And I said to myself, okay, we're not going on tour with Trey Songz Millennium Tour. You know, Dre's, you know, slow. Beginning of the year, you know, I may get a weekend, I may get 2 weekends, but that's not guaranteed. What are you going to do, King? And that was the question I asked myself. And it was like, school is in session. What you going to do, right? And you have to build these relationships.
Right.
And I'm going to give them the blueprint because at the end of the day, me giving you the blueprint can help someone else, right? So I sat there for hours a day, researching schools, finding and locating principals' emails. Once I do that, make a list. Now the next day, okay, I'm sitting there emailing hundreds of principals all day.
Yep.
Right? Reaching out and just like I emailed, introduce myself to you for the podcast. Same thing, but just for me to come visit their school and host an assembly.
Yes.
Right? It's just a business though.
Yeah.
You know, so introducing myself, waiting for responses from them, seeing who's interested, who's not. You know, there was a
putting in the work.
Yeah. And it all came together. I probably have done about maybe 10 schools.
Beautiful.
You know, and I'm a DOE vendor, Department of Education vendor, you know what I mean? So I'm taken care of very well and I'm grateful, right? So, and let me just share this. I've done this, speak to kids, speak to people. I've done that for about 15 years for free.
Yeah.
From the kindness of my heart, because it's what you mentioned earlier about wanting to be a blessing to others.
Yes.
Wanting to just push culture forward, wanting to just say, I'm from where you're from. I'm from the hood too.
Exactly.
And I know what it is, and I know what it took for me to get to where I'm at today. And I know what it is to have dreams and maybe not get this love and support that you need or, you know, deserve because of maybe your parents don't understand.
Yep.
Maybe their dreams didn't come true. It's no animosity. It's just maybe, so, you know, no, mine didn't come through, so I want you to be safe. Yep. I want you to go the safe route. Take this path, follow the rules so that I can know and believe as a parent, my kids are going to be safe. No, bro, I went that way, this way, right? So I want to make sure that I'm helping you and helping others, right, for free. Yeah. Met a gentleman, shout out to my brother, Domingo, and he sat me down one day as I presented to a group of kids, and he said, you got paid today? I said, no, I don't get paid for this. He said, what you mean? I get paid. I do this from my heart, bro. I've been doing this for 15 years. He said, let's have a conversation.
Look at God.
And we had a conversation about 2 or 3 years ago, and that conversation changed my life. I then became a DOE vendor. And from that day forward, and he showed me the way, that from that day forward, I was starting to get compensated, right?
Wow.
And just to put this in the right place.
Yeah.
From day one, I had it in my heart to be a blessing.
There you go.
For 15 years.
There you go.
I was a blessing and never compensated for any of what I've done, any speeches, any nothing, right? Yeah. Until the day the gentleman, I didn't know, right? Yeah. And that don't even, and if I never would have met my brother Domingo that educated me and gave me the gems and the information, still to this day,
yeah, I
would have been doing it for free.
From the bottom of your heart.
From the bottom of my heart. But God said, hold on, son.
Yeah, you put in the time.
No, there's something very, very great for you.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and I'm sharing this just so that others can be blessed, man. And it's a blessing. For 45 minutes, what I'm paid, and I'm going to do numbers, what I'm paid for 45 minutes to walk in that school and be a blessing.
There you go.
I'll leave it there.
There you go. And you said it, right? You've been putting in the work for 15 years, not even looking at the compensation side. But you've been blessing kids with information and inspiration and motivation. And again, this is what this is about.
Right.
God has been looking at you for 15 years,
Man.
doing it from your heart.
Man. And let me
While
tell
you're
you-
still a blessing for others. But you're doing this portion, this work, this part that God wants you to do and focus on the kids, the inner cities,
Right.
those boroughs that we come
Man.
from. Give them the light.
Man.
Give them the path. Give them that Smurf drum
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
Give them, in this way, you're going to give that to them.
Right. Let me tell you something.
Wow.
The conversation I had with God in my home during that difficult time was the most gangster conversation I've ever had with him. And I'm going to tell you what I said because I wanted to bless you and I wanted to bless those that are tuned in. And I want to share that it's okay to go to him this way. My exact words. You see what I'm doing. You know where my heart is. You know what I need. Why am I struggling? Why am I not living my greatest life from a financial standpoint right now? Wow. As hundreds of people that I've been a blessing to, why am I struggling? And I sat there with tears in my eyes and I looked up and asked him, this is not what you promised me.
Wow.
And it wasn't just me, it's all of us. He promised us all.
Yeah.
Why am I struggling? This is what life is for me. For me being a blessing, just many people as I've been a blessing to, they're telling me this is what it's supposed to be for me right now. And I sat there and it was a very real moment, man.
Wow, man.
And I said, I'm sharing this because I can come to you like this. I'm your son. Yeah. You know my heart.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling and I'm shedding tears and I'm trying to figure out this and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for that. And my son college tuition is due and this and that. And I got to figure it out. Why I got to figure it out? I shouldn't have to figure anything out. But I trust you. And I love you. And I know I'm going to continue to do my part. But you know what I need. And I don't want to struggle. I don't deserve to struggle.
Wow.
And not saying that that's the conversation that had to happen. Because I knew he would bless me. But I guess I came to him so gangster.
Yeah.
That he had to be like, and there's another thing that I should have. This is a good one. I'm praying every day. I'm coming to you every day. God, if you're busy, just let me know. Wow. If you can't get to my prayers right now, if you can't hear me right now, because you're over there, that's okay.
Wow.
And again, I went back to doing my part. Finding those schools, finding those emails, sending those emails out, and waiting in expectation for him to stand on his word for me in my life. And as things started coming together, because I had the things to figure out from a business sense, because I'm new to it. And I had to learn things and had to figure things out, paperwork and all of these different things by myself.
Yeah.
And one thing about me, if you insist left this room and locked me in here,
Yeah.
and said we threw away the key, and unless you figure it out, you'll be here. I'm gonna figure it out, bro. You know why I'm gonna figure it out? And I see the tears in your eyes, and I love this, and it's fine, King. This is why we need to be here. This is why I couldn't go to the Knicks game. I'm going to figure out how to get out of here. Not for me, but for my kids. My son needs me. My daughter needs me. Right? So, as a man, as a king, as a father, and this is going in a whole different direction, and I trust you, God. one thing we always do is figure it out.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. We get on everybody's nerves.
Yeah, all the time.
We've failed over and over again. We've dropped the ball plenty of times, and that's okay because we're human beings, King.
Oh man.
We've lost battles, we've lost moments. People have given up on us.
Yeah.
People have given up on our dreams and didn't believe in us, doubted us, put us in the corner and told me we weren't worthy of who we were.
Yeah.
I can go on and on and on, my brother. You know, but God, and I admire you, and I admire again this platform to be able to bring me into this amazing environment and make it safe enough for me to share what I'm sharing with you and for those viewers that will be tuned in.
My brother, man, listen. Everything you say right now, it was hitting my heart, and this is the first time I cry on the podcast.
Wow.
Like on camera. I've cried off camera, but this is the first time, and I don't care.
And and let me tell you something. Let me speak life into you about that. I am the biggest crybaby in the world. I'm surprised I'm not going. I'm not going right now, but I'm gonna hold it together, and I'm gonna hold it together because I need to be strong for you.
You got it, King.
Shedding tears is one of the most powerful things in the world. I don't care what anyone has said to you, right? I've always been this way. And I got laughed at and mocked and joked, oh, he's a crybaby. No, I'm not a crybaby. I'm a person that has feelings. And I'm strong enough and real enough as a real man and as a lion, as I keep looking at ourselves on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm strong enough to release that. Instead of not allowing that to overtake me and keep it all bottled up inside. And I'm nothing to myself and I'm nothing to no one because I can't even express myself as a real man.
Wow.
And think about how you feel as you shed tears. After you shed tears, you feel so
Elevated.
man. You're like
so relieved. Yeah.
because that's all that burden that's coming through. That's all that the weight. And what you're holding on to and just being released from you and from your body and from your spirit and from your heart. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You got to let go of that, man, in order to refuel, in order to be that man that you need to be for yourself, for your kids, for your wife, for your sister, for those that depend upon you.
Yeah.
So don't ever be ashamed about those tears, man.
Man, listen, we had to have this conversation today. Like today, it all lined up.
I know.
Because
what's today's date?
Today is what's the day? What's today's date? The 10th, May 10th.
I'm gonna share this in a coded way, but you'll see. You'll understand what I'm saying, and we'll talk about this off air.
Okay.
Today was once a very special day for me in regards to relationship.
Right.
Something happened powerful, amazing on this day.
Okay.
May 10th. That relationship is no longer. So for me to sit here on May 10th, right, which should be a day of, it could be however I would call it, it could be a day of depression. It could be a date of what I consider a failure because something didn't work. And you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going.
And the reason why I say it in this manner is because I have a princess now. I won't talk about that in detail. So there's a certain conversation, there's a certain thing I want to protect her from. Yeah. And a lot of people that are in my life don't know that of what I've endured, and I want to keep it that way. You know, sometimes people can talk, and it's fine, but sometimes, you know, you want to be mindful of others and mindful of your loved ones and people that may not know a certain thing about you, especially, you know, my daughter, right? Because all she knows is her mom, you know, and I like that until she's of age to be able to understand, you know, what her dad that sits in for her has been through or what he's experienced. Right. So today is a very powerful and special day. And I'm grateful again to be here with you on this day, on this date. Wow. Because again, I've been sitting in the Knicks game, but I drove over and you was like, bro, you was in full support. Like, yo, we can reschedule. We can do this another time.
Yeah.
But I thought about that, and I thought about today's date and how I felt and how excited I was coming here and having this conversation, right? And before we went on air, you know, myself, you and Sis was talking about like people needing us. Knicks are fine. They're going to do what they need to do, and they'll be great.
Game 3 tonight, baby.
You know, and they're going to get paid their millions of dollars, and people going to show up, and they're going to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
But this, and then I mean this with all due respect, is more important than me sitting. Me sitting here with you
appreciate that.
More important than me sitting in the stands at a game.
I appreciate that, my brother. Listen, you know, we're all going through different challenges, right? What you said about the conversation you had with God, I've become a crybaby over the last few years. Like, I cry, bro.
Oh, good, Brody.
Bro. and you know what? It's feeling more and more comfortable. But recently, I cried. Like, literally, I was on my knees crying while praying to God.
It's a powerful position.
And I was like, you know, I need you to show up in this area, you know, that I have no control over. You know, and here I am thinking, have I not been a good person? Have I not been a kind person? And, you know, there are things that we do and, you know, that may seem mean to others. And, you know, and for those things, I want to say, you know, I've apologized for, because, you know, we're all human. We make mistakes. But overall, have I not been a good parent? Have I not been a good, you know, I go down the line, but at the same time, while I'm praying to God, I'm like, I was thinking while I was crying, I was like, I'm sorry that I'm crying or seem like I'm nagging you over this one area in my life. But this is, I can't, you know, when you feel hopeless, that you can't do anything.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was me top of the year.
And you're like, so here's the other thing. Like, I'm looking at it in many ways now that I'm like stepping outside of it and looking at it from another point of view. This whole situation that I'm going through has gotten me closer to God, has gotten me to actually read the Bible, has gotten me to, like, you know, there's a different part of me in these few months that has come out, and it's just been a person that is closer to God. Maybe that was the reason. You see what I'm saying?
And, you know, he'll humble you. He'll
That's the thing.
He'll get your attention.
He will get your attention. You could have your life set. Everything is perfect. Everything is going dandy. You know, you're getting your accolades done. You're living your day to day. Everything is perfect, nice and sunny. And then,
bro,
that forecast hit you.
Like, life be lifing, man.
Yo,
I've sat many times, and like you said, all these accolades and trophies and the world loving Amadeus and you know, but who cares about Antwan? I've sat in the midst of looking at all my plaques. I remember sitting in the pandemic, sitting there looking at all my plaques, not getting paid no money because we can't perform, can't do no shows, and realized all these are cool, but I can't feed my family with these. So, like, all these accolades, all these awards, like, and it's not to take anything away from it. It's a great feeling, right? But, like, it just shows you that that's not what it's all about. Yeah, it's a blessing, but it's so much more to life, because you can have all of that and be known and popular and all of that and be sitting at home, and it's happened plenty of times, sitting home, twiddling my fingers, second guessing who I really am. Am I really this guy? Am I really as dope as what they say? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Second guessing who I am and what I'm capable of, and am I really great, and am I really a good person? Well, if I'm like you said, why am I going through that? Like, why am I going through this? Why don't they talk to me? Why don't they love me? Yeah. You know, the world does. Why not? What about him? What about her?
Yeah.
Why they don't talk to me?
100%.
You know, and I mean, obviously we talk about family and friends. Like, what am I really nice? Am I a nice guy? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm an a-hole. You know, maybe I'm the devil himself. Who knows? But you start getting into your head and into your mind. And I think one thing that I've shared, and most men don't, that was a huge blessing, was me having therapy. Wow. man.
Speak on it, my brother. Speak on it, because I'm in therapy too.
Man. But going into
Life changing.
Going into it, and being honest and real with yourself and telling the truth and laying it all out on the table. And I had a female therapist and she was phenomenal. I had a male before and we was cool, but there's a really dope connection because you have to make sure that
the connection
is right.
That's the thing.
And she was super dope. Call me out on things and make me think things and make me, view things different. And one of the takeaways from me was no matter what happens in life, what challenges or whatever we face, to just not respond immediately. Mm-hmm. And that right there, game changing. If you said something disrespectful to me right now, just sit there and ponder. Mm-hmm. Why did he say that? Maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he's got some things that he's going through internally that doesn't have nothing to do with me
at all.
But he's projecting it on me. You know how spiritually mature you have to be to even think in that manner and not just pop off?
Listen, didn't we just speak about this? I told you, I'm not even going to respond that way.
Right.
Or the way that he or she expects me to respond. It's like, I don't need that energy. And I understand people going through their things.
Maybe that's
I'm
not
okay.
Even, maybe that wasn't even for me, but I was in the way.
You was in the way.
Right? So that and
you caught a stray.
Yeah, you caught a stray.
Yeah.
And then learning to control my emotions. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna allow something you say or do or to control how I feel. Mm-hmm. Those two things, like game changers. Yeah. It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful and difficult when you really think about it.
It becomes simpler over time.
Bro.
You got to put it into practice.
Nah, I'm not going to let you control how I feel and my emotions. Oh, I didn't get invited to that?
It's cool.
Okay.
It's totally cool.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Cool. And if you just, I'm telling you.
Just sit down and ponder for 1 or 2 seconds.
Just, bro.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. And then boundaries.
Oh.
Last Thanksgiving, I had Thanksgiving alone for the first time in 44 years. And I went and picked up all of the things that I wanted to eat. And I laid out my own little spread. And I had the Giants game on. And I sat there alone and enjoyed Thanksgiving. And I remember my therapist was a little concerned. She said, my phone will be on for you today, just in case, because I don't know how this is going to go. I don't like it. But greatest time ever, bro. And why? Because I wanted to protect my space and protect my feelings and my emotions. Too many times we put ourselves in harm's way by attending something, knowing half these mofos don't give two about you, but you in there fake smiling. You know how much energy that takes?
Ooh.
To know you sitting in a room with people that don't F with you.
Full of vultures.
You know how much energy that takes?
You pivoted.
You know how much energy that takes?
Yeah.
Mommy's like, you coming to Thanksgiving? No, ma. Next day go by, you coming to Thanksgiving? I was just making sure. No. The no I gave you the other day, respectfully, is the same no. No, I'm not. I'm not putting myself in that position. I don't want to be in that position. It's Thanksgiving. Not fake giving.
You had a great time by yourself.
I had a great time by myself. And I'm gonna share this. The Giants lost, but we knew that was gonna happen. Yeah.
Giants got to do better.
I think we might be all right. We might be on to something this year.
Every year we say the same, but Big Blue in the house over there. Yeah.
Big Blue. I got a gift from a friend of mine. His name is Sean, and he works with Sennheiser. And we shot a commercial and did something, right? The commercial with Carl Anthony Towns with the Knicks and
yes.
for the sound bar, right? He gifted me with something, and I decided to open up the box on Thanksgiving night. Open up the box. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
He went and found the original Smurf drum set that my parents gifted me as a kid.
Bro.
I had this box sitting in my living room for like 3 weeks. Why Thanksgiving? So I'm open up this today. Man, random. Not knowing what it was. I cried like a baby, but it was such from a beautiful place. Yeah. It was tears of joy, tears of admiration, tears of how did you do this, bro? Mm-hmm. You thought of me from a conversation that we had, me saying, or you seeing a picture of me playing the Smurf drums, and went and found I'm talking about the original set, bro.
Wow.
Drumsticks and everything. And I'm sitting there as a 43-year-old man,
balling,
looking at what my parents gifted me as a child, as an adult, becoming all that I've dreamt of becoming. Looking at this drum set you gave me that I decided to open up on Thanksgiving night.
Look at that.
Tears of joy. Called my mother and was like, "Ma, you're never going to believe this." And showed her, and she was like, "Oh my God."
Wow.
Best Thanksgiving in a long time, bro.
Might be ever.
Might be ever.
It might be Thanksgiving, best Thanksgiving
alone.
Ever. Wow.
So, you learn about boundaries. You learn to say no.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we don't put ourselves ahead of others. We put others ahead of ourselves. And we put ourselves in difficult situations and in difficult moments and challenge ourselves and put ourselves in harm's way to appease someone else.
Wow.
And it was a moment where I said, I want to appease me.
Yeah.
And that means Thanksgiving, I will be alone in my space and my home where the love is. Yeah. And it's authentic and it's genuine because it's the love that I give myself.
Yeah.
And sit here in this moment and enjoy Thanksgiving.
Listen, one thing I want the listeners and the viewers to really pick from this conversation, and I'm going to go back to it again, that spiritual discernment to know, because yes, we are a blessing to others, but we need to pinpoint and pick who we're around. Boundaries is important. Therapy is important.
Very, man.
In general, and I'm going to therapy too. And
I applaud you, brother.
It's kind of like I'm seeing a different version of myself unfold. My wife is seeing a different husband. My kids are seeing a different father. It's just like blessings on blessings.
And it hurts. You got to.
It really hurts because you're peeling back,
bro.
You're peeling everything off.
You're talking about everything
you don't want to talk
about. You have to.
You're destroying yourself in front of your own eyes. And then you learn how to maneuver forward. Question for you, though. I know multi-platinum producer, touring, but when you're home, how do you show up as a dad?
Man, for me, I always say it's one of the most important roles I ever have in life. Like it's the greatest gift I can ever have. Like it's the greatest role, the greatest job ever
in life.
No song, no show, no book, no speaking engagement can touch being a father, being a dad. Is the greatest thing ever, bro. Like it's first of all, your child, your children. You're the first superhero they ever met. We have Batman, we have Superman, we have Spider-Man, we have all of these, Wonder Woman, all of these superheroes that exist. You know what I'm saying? The Fantastic Four, Avengers. You're the first Avenger he or she ever seen. No matter what the world thinks of you, how they classify you, how they view you, to them, you're the greatest of all time.
Yep.
And that's, of course, if you're deserving of that. Because it doesn't, it comes automatically.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't know any better. You're their first love.
Yeah.
Comes automatically, right? But if not cherished, if not done the right way, and I don't want to say the right way because we don't get no manual for this. There's no manuals for how to be a dad, a father, a mother.
There's no right way. You're just figuring it out as you go.
Love wins, though.
All the time. All the time.
Love wins. If I couldn't provide, protect, take care of, and I only had love to give, that would be enough for the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Until I got everything else in order. You know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be those moments. What if I don't have the money? What if you can't get that toy?
Yeah.
What if you can't? I can't get you those J's right now. I'll be back though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. We always make it happen. For me, my late dad, right? Us being men now, we understand about providing.
Yeah.
And having a family and being, the king of the castle, like, and all that entails. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't know as a kid. You just want what you want, Christmas
it.
and the tree, the gifts. But as a father, now you understand all of the sacrifices that your father and your mother made.
Yo.
And you're like, I've never not had a Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? So that has to be what my kids experience.
I've always had food on the table.
Always have food on the table, bro. Mm-hmm. Right? So when you think about times when you reminisce and your mother tells you, you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Taking food out of her plate to give to you.
No, you eat. You want more? Okay. There was never a no when you wanted more. No. What if that was, and you don't know this because you're a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said yes and gave you her portion.
Yeah.
As she drinks Kool-Aid for the rest of the night. You know what I'm saying? Or snacks on whatever she snacks on, or don't eat at all.
Yeah.
To make sure that when your father gets home from work all day, he has the plate that's the size of this, that has everything,
Yeah.
85 meatballs and like,
Yeah.
I used to be so mad as a kid.
No.
Like, how come I got 5 meatballs and dad has 30? To the point where I would sneak and get the meatballs, bro.
Just picking at it.
Just until one day, daddy came home and was like, that's all I got. And mommy came in there and was like, well, I left you a lot. And it was that moment when I was like, damn, I got caught. But
Yeah.
So fast forward as a man, as a king of the castle, like, yeah, bro, my plate supposed to be bigger than everybody's. Why? Because I created the plate.
Listen.
I provided the plate.
It's something important you said there, because we don't understand the sacrifices that our parents made for us. Even like look at for me, my situation, my parents left their country. My mother has like 12 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
My dad has 16. And
16?
16 brothers and sisters. Yeah, listen, I guess there was no
Grandpa,
TV.
Nan and Grandpa was going crazy.
They was
What
out
they
here.
had?
They was out here wilding. Listen,
Yo.
I'm talking about over 30 uncles from both sides, right? So uncles and aunts.
That Mama Juana? What's his Mama Juana? Yo.
We got some Mama Juana here
What's
too.
in that? No, I don't want none of that because clearly.
You want 15 kids?
Yo, no Mama Juana for me.
You want 15 kids? Mama Juana's right there. Listen,
Stay away from no Mama Juana, bro.
And it's crazy because I say it so nonchalantly. I got like 30 uncles and aunts. I say it so regular. And people look at me like, are you crazy? Were your grandparents high? I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Bro.
I don't know. My grandparents was getting at it. That's all I know.
Mama Juana.
Listen, I forgot my point.
That and Penny.
Listen, so we come from a big family, but my parents, they left all that and their parents to come to
create a better
to create a better
life.
life for us.
Wow.
So it's only as an adult that I look back and say, that's a huge sacrifice. And then here we go. We're in a new country, let's say. I'm them. We're them, right? We're our parents. We're in a new country. We don't know the language. I'm letting go of all my dreams. Work to provide.
Wow.
Another sacrifice. So when you start peeling everything that your parents have done for you, you have more than enough to be grateful for, to then raise your kids.
Absolutely.
The correct way. So it's only, and a lot of us don't even realize that. That's the thing. A lot of us don't even realize the sacrifice that was made for us.
It makes you appreciate it, because you don't understand. You don't know. You're a kid.
Understand.
And the dope part is, then that's how amazing our parents was, where we didn't feel it. We didn't know. We didn't know, daddy struggled to make sure the gifts was under the tree. We didn't know. We just woke up in the morning and saw him there every year.
Yeah.
Birthday, every year. We had birthday parties every year, bro. I got the pictures. Like, every year there's a birthday. Halloween, everybody had costumes. Like, every time. And we went to Playland and we went to Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut was a ritual.
Oh, Pizza Hut, man.
When you can go and sit down and Pizza Hut was a ritual.
Listen.
Like,
that was the vibe.
Thursdays he got paid. So we would meet him on 3rd Ave, 149th Street and 3rd Ave. There was a Wendy's. And that was a treat. You know what I'm saying? Well, that it was payday, and then everybody behaved. That was key.
Yeah.
And you would meet him. We would meet him at Wendy's, and we would have Wendy's on Thursday nights. Yeah, I got paid every 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So you think about all of these things, and as an adult, and it just makes you so appreciative, right? And one thing that I'm really big on is making sure that my kids appreciate what they have. Like, myself and their moms, we don't play that.
Yeah.
And I make sure, and I wasn't always this way, but I make sure to be honest and transparent with them, to let them know when things are tough. And I used to, and it's crazy, I used to go and hide and cry so that my son wouldn't see me.
Wow.
Right? And then one day it was so much, I was so full one day, and I was watching, don't ever watch this movie, the Pursuit of Happiness. Lord.
Oh, man, come on.
That movie tore me apart as a father.
Yeah.
And I was sitting down there watching that and then thinking about some things I was going through. My son had to be like 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old. And I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
And I'm bawling, right? And he was upstairs playing, I'm bawling, and he came down and I tried to like hurry up and change.
Yeah.
And he looked over, crying, Daddy? Yeah. And I'll never forget this moment, still to this day. He comes over, sits down on the couch, takes my head, puts it on his chest.
Wow.
And says, "It's going to be okay, Daddy."
Wow.
I still remember that joint to this day.
Wow.
And I have to do it. It's a vulnerable moment, but I have to do it. Fast forward. I'm an adult. He was maybe 19. Not last year, the year before. No. This was last year. Wow. Last year.
Yeah.
Christmas. It's me and him. I had my own place, moved into my own place. That was very different for me. Always been in a relationship, always been together as a family.
Yeah.
So this is my first time having my own place. So he was over. Christmas. And it just was overwhelming because it wasn't what I was used to. So it was my first year in my new place alone. He was there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Broke down.
Him. You.
Me.
You.
Broke down. And he was playing the game. We have 2 TV setups. So I have my TV and I call it the kids' TV so that when they come over to spend the night with Daddy's house, that's your TV. So whatever I got going on doesn't stop. Do whatever you want to do over here. Xbox, rock out. He was on his TV playing Xbox, and I don't know what I was doing. Broke down and started crying. Hit the floor crying. And the next thing I remember, he's a big dude, him lifting me up off the ground. I had nothing. All my weight. Picked me up and held me in his arms. And said, "It's gonna be okay, Dad. But this is a masculine voice talking to me now."
Wow.
It's a 19-year-old talking to me now. Still playing that position of it's gonna be okay, right? Fast forward. Last Christmas. No, so this was 2 years ago. So last Christmas.
Yeah.
The biggest smile on him in the world in my face as he was there.
Yeah.
Therapy sessions, everything. I did the work.
Your work.
Did the work. I'm in the gym, changed my eating habits. I'm smaller, I'm fit, I feel great. And I looked around, my mom was there.
Yeah.
And just was like, this wasn't the same last year. My son picked me off the floor last year. So for me to be able to say, "Hey, man, remember what you said to me?
Yeah.
Look at us. Look at me. Look at your dad." Because he know what I endured.
Yeah.
He know what I I overcome. He know where I was. He felt it. He saw it. He picked me up off the floor.
Wow.
So to be where I am today, even, this year's his birthday, turning 44 years old, I was in a beautiful space, right? But the whole time, King, the world don't know.
Yeah.
All they know is Amadeus. He's that guy. Whole time, I'm in so much pain, hurting, thinking I'm a failure, having to start over. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I sit across from you today, and I can honestly say, I want you to ask me how I'm feeling and how I'm doing. I want you to ask me that right now.
How you feeling, my brother?
And I can say wholeheartedly, as God is my witness, I'm happy. I'm at peace. I feel great, inside and outside. Healed from many things and still in the process of healing, right?
Yeah.
But appreciating the process of healing.
Loved one in your household, in your parenting. You know, I'm so grateful for this conversation, man.
Me too, bro.
This is like it's eye opening. It's like we're living two different lives, but we're vicariously going
absolutely.
through things and hearing you speak about tough times and overcoming them and healing, and I'm going through my stuff and overcoming them and healing.
And for those that are tuned in,
you know, and for those that are tuned in,
and sister's over here running the boards. You see her?
Yeah, she out here.
You know what I'm saying? You here? You can't see, but you here. She running the boards. Sister's running the boards. Shout out to all the queens in the world. Okay.
But love one, you know, and
yeah.
let me go back to that because I'm starting to. I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old. Both beautiful girls. They melt my heart every day. Every single day is something new. Something like. I love being the dad,
Bro,
man. I love it. And, you know, the more they grow, I'm starting to see them still wanting to be with me. Because one day,
oh man,
18,
welcome.
20, they're going to be gone.
He has to pencil me in. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
At first I was upset. But you learn, man. You learn and you understand perspective. And, you know, one thing I've always done is put myself in their shoes or place myself in someone else's shoes, right? He's 20 years old, bro. What were you doing at 20? Was you trying to be up under your mother and father at 20? No. We were nowhere to be found. So it's the same thing. But again, when you do things in the right way, not perfect, but when, you know, the relationship that we have is such a blessing and so amazing. So he'll text me back 3 days later, you know, hey, Dad, I had this going on, and, you know, but everything good? You good? Straight. All right, cool. Then he'll pull up on me, and then we'll go to the movies together, and we'll go, you know, Dave and Buster's, and, you know, we do what we do, you know what I mean? But, you know, so enjoy.
Yeah, I am.
Them wanting to be near daddy, because, man, it changes, bruh.
But see, the thing is, your son still wants to be with you as an adult.
Yes.
So you've won as a parent when your kids want to be with you when they're grown.
Now, my daughter, you said, how old's your daughter?
11 and 8.
So she's 12, right?
Yeah. We're going through it.
It could change quick, because
we're going through it.
I told she was out of school, and she's going to be so upset, but she was out of school for summer, or what do you call it, the spring break.
Yeah.
So I was like, you want to come spend the night with daddy?
No.
She was just like. So it wasn't even an answer.
She looked around and everything.
I said, you ain't going to pull up on me? You know, we have a great time. When you. She was like, well, what I was really thinking about doing was just resting. And just, you know, being home and just resting and just relaxing.
Yeah.
I said, what? So now I already know her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, before this would have been a movie. Called, you know, mother, you know,
everything.
Mother, there's a meeting, family meeting, everything. But I know her and I understand how she thinks. And, you know, now I don't take it personal. Before it was a movie.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend time. You know what? But in that moment, she's like, and then she goes, get ready. And you probably already experienced this. Oh, here we go. Now, you know, now you're going to tell mommy, and now mommy is going to call me in the room, and I got to listen to mommy for 3 hours. She
mapped it all out.
I said, you know what? Yeah, come over.
You switched it on her. You had to switch it on.
You ain't gotta come on. That's cool. We ain't gotta go bowling. We ain't gotta go to Dave and Buster's. We ain't got.
I'd have been crying.
We ain't gonna have peace at night. That's fine.
I'm not quite there yet.
Yo,
and I know that's coming. That's definitely coming.
And then so now, fast forward, I'm home and I get a text message. I just want to say I'm sorry. You know, I hopefully, you know, I didn't hurt your feelings. I said, no, I'm fine. Now I'm fine. Before it was a movie, but now I'm fine. Like, listen, I know you're a growing girl. You know, you want to be with mommy, and it's fine. That is her biggest fan. When I tell you, like, you can't pull, man, mommy.
Yeah.
Bro, I have, now usually, well, I can't say usually. You know, daddy's little girl, like.
Always, yeah.
Nothing.
None of that worked.
Nothing. She could call me, you know, what time is mommy coming back? Because, you know, I'm getting a little worried. You know, she went to a brunch and is already, you know.
She's clocking her.
Clocking everything. I said, you know, she's fine, right?
Yeah. Let's focus on us.
Like, I come over and, you know, I'm watching her for the day. She's in the room and she comes out every now and then saying she's hungry. And then I got, you know, doing TikTok videos and watching. I got to watch all 85 of these dances, you know, and then she goes back in the room and that's it. Mommy comes. Oh, there you go. I didn't even know you was here. Oh, how you doing? But yeah, man, it's
man.
But I love it. I love the bond that they have. I love the bond that we have. So just to be clear, you know, and I want, because this could help people that are tuned in.
Yes.
I didn't create her, right? So when I met her, she was like, you know, about 1.5. She's baby, and I've been in her life ever since.
Yeah.
And I've been there, and she said, you know, I would love for you to be, you know, my second dad, you know. And, you know, for me, it was like, whoa, because out of respect for her dad and her father, you know, I don't want to, you know, just be disrespectful in any way. How would I feel? You know what I'm saying?
100%.
But at the end of the day, I've been there, you know, when there were times where he wasn't able to be there. You know what I'm saying? And not trying to take the place of him, but standing in proxy of, respectfully, in the position. And, you know, so her mom and I are no longer together, you know, but we have an amazing relationship. Really great bond, and I still function still to this day, you know, as her dad. And, you know, someone asks why. Maybe you wouldn't ask why, but for those that are asking why, you know, why didn't you move on with your life? And and for me, you know, people experience traumas and different things in life that take hold of them and ruin them in ways that affect them in their lives and their relationships. And I've experienced that over and over again, unfortunately, in my relationships. And for me, it was like, no, I want this beautiful princess to be okay. I want her to know what real love is, and not experience what her mom has possibly experienced or others possibly experienced that allowed them to ruin relationships in life later on down the road. I want her to be taken care of and protected as much as possible.
That's beautiful, man.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, for those that I meet along the way, it's like I have 2 kids.
There you go.
You know, I'm explaining it now because I want to be a blessing to others, but, you know, I have a son and I have a daughter. And their bond is such a beautiful thing. Like a brother and sister. Oh, man, you don't mess with her or don't mess with him. And that's what it should be. And sometimes, you know, things don't work out in life. Relationships don't work out in life, right? But why, you know, should the kids suffer? You know what I mean? And that was my mindset. You know what I'm saying? And it's not easy. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like that's what I should do. And from a bigger lens, that's what God would want me to do. That's the definition of a real man, a real father, a real person that could know, okay, yes, I didn't, you know, create her, but to me, that's my baby girl. That's my princess. I protect her. I love on her. You know,
give her guidance.
Absolutely.
And it's important because you're a light in her life. You see what I'm saying? Like, and there are a lot of situations like that. And I applaud the men who step up and do exactly what you did. And I'm sure, and you know, you and sometimes you actually, even that gangster conversation you had with God, you know, you could ask yourself, you know, how come God, you know, why wouldn't God bless you? Because you've done so much good for others. And that's what it's about.
And then it's the other side of that, right? Where, you know, when I asked God why was I placed in positions where it was the opposite, meaning, you know, why was I chosen to be with this woman that has experienced what she's experienced?
Look at that.
That has not allowed us to be together because of that, which is a whole different, conversation. Like, why did I have to go through that? Why did she have to go through that? Why did we have to go through that? Why are we not together? We would be together still to this day if it wasn't for that. You know what I mean? So why did I have to experience that? Why did I have to lose the one I love based off of something I wasn't never involved in or that I had nothing to do with?
There's a bigger picture there.
So it's healing that had to take place from that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm expressing this not from a sense of people being in our business, but just being a blessing, man. And, you know, we go through things for a reason. And we go through things in life, and sometimes people look at us from what they know and what they see on the outer, right? And want the lives we live, not knowing
All the pain
what
we
we've
endured.
endured to get to where we are. So I share these things in hopes that people cannot look at me from the surface. Amadeus. Amadeus been through a lot.
Pain and passion goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, and God to put you through lonely roads,
Man.
and tough times, and where you have to decide what you're gonna do based on His will. You see what I'm saying? So when you step back from yourself, right, you want to make sure that you please God.
Yes, sir.
And make sure you honor what He has for you. And I'm glad that therapy's in place that allows you to separate and set boundaries and have that more strong spiritual discernment and all that stuff, like, just to be a blessing for others.
Absolutely.
I had a lot of questions for you, my brother, but I'm gonna end it on this note.
Okay. We could do a part 2.
Yeah, we could do part 2.
I'm serious. We could do a part 2.
What's next for Amadeus? Man, let me just stop. Let me just again say, what a conversation today.
Yeah, today was dope, bro.
And I am so happy that this place exists. This
me
space
too.
exists because I'm a fan of it too.
Right.
But I'm just so happy to have these type of. This is what it's about, man.
Mm-hmm.
These type of conversation. Let's go deeper. Let's dive. Let's cry.
Yeah,
If we have to.
yeah.
And it was all a blessing for today to happen, my brother. But
Man, today's.
and I appreciate your presence here,
was
man.
dope, bro.
I need your energy today.
I need yours, man.
and this is what it's
You
about.
kicked this off,
Listen,
the platform that you and Sis built. Y'all created this safe space. You know what I'm saying? So as much as you give me props and love and acknowledgement, it goes hand in hand in regards to what y'all created and the space you created.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and in order for me to share what I've shared, it had to be a safe space, and I had to feel comfortable and vulnerable enough to be as honest and transparent that I was. And I'm saying that I'm not honest, with life, but sometimes you hold back and you don't, you don't allow that skin to shed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the moment, like you said, the moment we connected online and just chopped it up, it was instant, because again, two different lives, but the same.
Yeah.
It's career filled. It's just different passion.
We needed to hear from each other today, my brother. Thank you for your kind words.
Man. Thank you.
What's next for Amadeus?
You know what? And I know you're gonna love this answer. I think it's very important that we stay present. Oftentimes we're so worried about the next, that we don't really get to appreciate what's happening now. Of course, more music, of course, touring, of course, getting into other schools and being a blessing to the kids and touring the world and all those different things is cool, but day to day, day by day, minute by minute, second by second, and just appreciating and valuing each moment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I ain't even thinking about tomorrow or what Amadeus is going to do. Right now, I'm just thinking about the fact that I sit across, from greatness, that I sit across from,
likewise,
a man of honor, a man of integrity, a man of power, a genius, you know what I'm saying? A man filled with love and passion and authenticity, genuineness. So I'm just appreciating where I'm at right now and the moment that I'm in, and just grateful and looking forward to, whatever God has in store for me, whatever God has in store for you, whatever God has in store, for your sister and your family that I had a great opportunity, to meet. And just from the welcome and the warmness and just the love and authenticity, you'll meet my family as well. The kids that I speak of here on the cast, you'll meet them as well, because I feel safe enough and knowing that we can create a brotherhood that we've already created to know that I can come here and be me. There you go. And move Amadeus to the side and allow you to meet Antwan and allow your family to meet Antwan, that guy that, forget the music, forget the accolades, forget just me as a human being. And more than I need that. Yeah. I'm a popular loner. Yeah. I spend a lot of time alone in my own space, because in my own space I can't disappoint me.
Wow. Amazing.
When you allow yourself into other space and around other energy and other spirits, man, it could be a scary thing and a very, very vulnerable thing. And sometimes people can be mad at you and dislike you and hate you and don't know why. And it could just be as simple as you walking in your greatness.
There you go.
It could just be you simple as you walking in your calling, you using everything God has blessed you with. And there's a light on you, and there's a presence about you that hinders those that are not themselves, those that don't love and value themselves, those that think themselves better than anyone else. You can feel that spirit. You can feel that energy.
Definitely feel it.
You know what I'm saying? And you said something earlier about vultures. And, you know, I know Puff has a lot going on, and prayers to him and his family and everybody that's involved in that situation. But I remember him saying one thing to me, you know, and I'll leave on this note. Yeah. And it's he was making the last Train to Paris album. Okay. And he said, you got to show them how to move in a room full of vultures. Mm-hmm. When you can be in a room or in any environment and sit comfortably with love in your heart and exude love and exude light and positive energy, knowing that room is filled with negativity and hate and animosity and jealousy, and sit there with all your being and not allow any of that to touch you in any possible way, that's when you know you've arrived.
Wow. Amadeus, thank you so much for the conversation today.
Thank you, my brother.
Like I said, it's been a blessing to sit across from you, have this beautiful conversation about parenting, life, getting to know Antwan.
Yes, sir.
You know, I let you know about my life. I cried in front of you, my brother. That's a lot. Like I feel comfortable enough, to be around a king, and king to king, just be that vulnerable. And I appreciate you, that from you, my brother.
Thank you, King.
For all the listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope you like this conversation. Listen, all I got to say is be kind, man. Be kind, have that spiritual discernment. Be blessed. Y'all have a good one. Peace.